right, let's see if that did it. Are we on? Let's see here. Can you see and or hear me right now? Is this thing working? Let me know. Let's see. That did it. All right, excellent. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Paleontologizing. I'm glad I could get this thing up and running today, because, today was not a conducive day. Or not a day conducive to streaming, I'll put it that way. Got a flat tire first thing in the morning today. Had to drive into town and get that fixed, and then we got rained out. So, that's how it works out here in the field sometimes. But, I'm glad you could be here, and why don't I show you around camp real quick? But welcome everybody to Paleontologizing. Allow me to introduce myself real quick, especially if you're new here. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist, and I'm here on Twitch trying to do some good old-fashioned science outreach. So normally that means I'm back in my office, going over new scientific publications, talking about some new findings in the world of fossil science, doing interviews with other paleontologists, and 3D printing and sculpting and art and just Q&A, all kinds of stuff. But it's summertime, and in the summer, I'm out digging dinosaurs. So welcome to Wyoming, and this is our camp right here. So I figured, since I wasn't able to stream from the field part of the field today, I can stream from camp today and kind of give you a sneak peek into sort of how we live out here, if you're interested in that. And then I'm going to bring Matt Lamanna over, and we'll do some Q&A and just have, kind of a fun loosey-goosey sort of interview, answering your questions about dinosaurs and everything. So yeah, let's see. And hello, Claire Burr. It is good to have you here. Welcome, everybody. Shoot, let me show you around a bit. Got some tents here. That is my tent right there, with the big rain fly over the top of it. Right here. Spring bar tents. Weather gets pretty crazy out here, so it's nice to have something that can really stand up to that kind of onslaught. And this is definitely that. We had some pretty severe winds earlier, thunder and lightning and lots of rain, and this thing's a champ. This is a big rock right here. That's why I put my tent there. I figured, hey, maybe this will help block some of the wind, but no, not really. You can see it's just been scoured by aeolian erosion here. Just like wind-blown sand has carved this into this really cool shape. We have this kind of thing all around camp. It's a good place to be. It's a good place to be. And here is our kitchen tent. Right here, partly destroyed by the wind, but that's okay. It's more of a kitchen tube, I suppose, at this point. Yeah. But, yeah. And then here's the guys over here. Hey, everybody.
Hello. Hey,
yeah. I figured I'd just do a quick little camp tour before you and I sit down, Matt, and do an interview.
Hello there, Chathew.
But yeah. Got Matt Lamanna, and anybody else want to introduce themselves?
Sure.
Yeah. This is Nick right here. You might recognize him from the chat.
Hello.
But, yeah.
I'm Nick Oliver.
Yeah.
I'm No Liver on Danny's streams from time to time.
Yeah. So it's good to finally have him out here. It's been a while. Shoot, was it like 2021 that we met in the field in Utah?
I think so. I think it was 2021.
Shoot, yeah.
Good name
Good
drop.
times.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Terrence, you introduced my YouTube channel the other day.
Yeah, and let's get that again
Yeah, I
so
think,
people can look up.
Chaotic Horizons.
Chaotic Horizons.
Yeah.
Cool name.
Appreciate
Yeah.
that. Sounds like a metal band. Working on it.
Yeah. And Victoria?
I'm Victoria.
Yeah.
Been coming out for a couple years.
Yeah. So this is just part of the crew. Other people are coming back from town right now. A few lucky folks got showers today, and they're picking up supplies and all that. So
Luxury.
Yeah. Shoot, I don't know if I could get a shower without like going soft at this point. So
It's personal now
Yeah.
for Danny.
I'm in it to win it.
Yeah, I have no shame. I get them whenever I can.
Anyway, if anybody's got any questions, let me know. No trees for shade out there? I don't know if there... I don't think I've seen a tree in this whole county. No, there's been some PJs, some pine junipers tucked away in various places, but for the most part it's,
Really wonderful.
kind of dry desert scrubland.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And let's see, Ricky WSF says, I have a question for you. At the most populated time that dinosaurs were around, how many significant dinosaurs were there population-wise? Do you mean individual dinosaurs in a given environment around the world? Or do you mean like number of dinosaur species or genera or families? Or you gotta refine your question a little bit. If you're talking about individual dinosaurs, there was a paper that some friends of mine and some colleagues published a year or two ago trying to estimate the number of Tyrannosaurus that would have existed during the existence of that species. And they calculated it like around 3 billion, something like that. Different individual Tyrannosaurus would have existed at the time. But yeah, and yes, worldwide. Do you mean individuals, Ricky, WSF, or do you mean number of different dinosaur species? Yeah. How did the moving the big jacket go? It went really well in Autumn Mouse. Just, yeah, we were able to really easily carry that down to the vehicle. Getting it down so thin and being able to reduce all that weight helped a tremendous amount. And we're really excited to be able to open that up in the lab. Because, yeah, we got that weird bonus bone there. We still don't know what it is. But we're pretty excited about that. It was actually a really good call to thin it down as thin as we went, to make it easier to carry and to figure out what else was in there. We wouldn't have known about that extra bone if it hadn't been for that.
We definitely knocked them all down.
Oh, I mean, today we say the human population is 7 billion individuals, says Reiki WSF. I don't know, to trillions of dinosaurs at any given time? Because you're talking about hundreds or thousands of species at any given time. All over the world, dinosaurs lived on all 7 continents. They ranged in size from dinosaurs that were bigger than a whale to dinosaurs that are about the size of a small or medium-sized bird. So, yeah. Especially if you count birds as dinosaurs, which we do. Birds are theropod dinosaurs. Yeah. And yeah, I heard all about Loki's ceratops. I haven't read the paper yet, Imagination 2 form, but Jim Kirkland called me up the other day to tell me about it. New ceratopsid from the Judith River. Been hearing rumors about that for a while now. So it's good that it's published. I kind of wonder about some of the implications of that paper. I mean, there's some bold claims being made about, faunal endemism and different critters living at the same time, like high species diversity in any given environment. I kind of have my doubts about some of this stuff, but I haven't even read the paper yet. So don't let me get down on it. It's cool stuff. Yeah. And, yeah. And heard Triceratops are the most represented species in the fossil record, says Chlorojets. It depends who you ask. Triceratops is very, very well represented. We've got literally hundreds, thousands of individuals probably through time. Like through about 2 million years of the Hell Creek and Lance formations and a couple other formations too. So Triceratops is very well represented, and we kind of watch it evolve through time because of that. But you've got other instances of dinosaurs where there's maybe 10,000 individuals in a bone bed that all died at the same time. Dinosaurs like Maiasaura, Coelophysis, Falcarius. So there are some dinosaurs that are extraordinarily well represented because they just had like a mass die-off. There would have been thousands of individuals that died at the same time and were buried, fossilized, and then later discovered. So yeah. And when you've read the paper, Vexy, yes indeed, I'll do that when I get home. We'll do a wrap-up, or a roundup rather, of different dinosaurs that were named while I've been out here. On average, a new dinosaur is named, published, about once every 9 days. So there have been a few since I've been out here, and one of them was actually described and published by a paleontologist we have here in camp, Matthew Lamanna. I'm going to sit down with him in just a minute here. Yeah. And are you near grills? I can't say where I am, Milamoji, just because we don't want poachers and people like that sniffing around, and we're trying to keep a low profile out here in Wyoming. Especially given that, nobody really knows that there are dinosaurs out here in this particular part of the state. Yeah. And Ricky says, do you find dinosaurs that have evolved from previous iterations? Absolutely. Yeah, so like an evolutionary sequence of different dinosaurs. Maybe 30 years ago I would have had to say, no, we don't have that yet, but we've started to find that. What we call anagenetic lineages. So, one dinosaur species down low in the rock horizon And then, like, you move higher up and you find them and they're a little bit different. You go higher up and they're a little bit different. It's just lineage evolution. So, like, one lineage of dinosaurs evolving over time. So, yeah. And Matt's student did make it out here. Yeah, she's been cool. It's been great having her in camp. But yeah. Anywho, good stuff. But yeah. Anywho, and yeah, can we time that person out, please? Thank you. And Laudnat, how are you doing? Dig the channel, appreciate that. Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. Good stuff. And thank you, Claire. Appreciate that. Let's bring Matt over here, and yeah, maybe I'll get myself a beverage as well. We'll sit down and we'll talk dinosaurs. Yeah, hang on just a minute. Let me put the camera down. So you wait here for just a jiff, and we'll get that started. Yeah. There we go. Hang on just a second here. There we are. Be right back. Grab a chair for you.
Okay. Nope. I think I had my jacket on the blue one. That's fine. Yes, please. Sure.
Is that your jacket?
No. It's the light blue one past the green one.
Here?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Cool.
Ontogeny.
Grab a beverage for myself real quick, too.
Excellent.
Are those fair game?
Yeah, they're not mine. I think Riley bought them.
Oh, nice.
Ontogeny.
All right. Cool. Try to find a good angle over here where they can kind of see camp in the background and where it's like not too loud and where we won't be too disruptive. That about good right there?
Sure.
Cool.
Fireside chats.
Yeah. Excellent. Hopefully that'll be an okay angle.
I'm trying to put on my Instagram, follow Danny on.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But
Nice.
I failed.
Oh, no worries.
I'll do it soon, though.
Have you still got the login info for the Starlink?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. That's why I was able to.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
Because I actually had service.
Beautiful. All right. Let's see. Let's put this over here. There we go. That should work.
Okay.
Let me make sure the angle is good enough. And make sure the angle is good enough. We'll probably move that a little closer, actually. Or maybe we can move the chairs a little closer. That's probably fine.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody, welcome back to Paleontologizing. And I'm here once again with dinosaur curator of Pittsburgh's Carnegie Museum, Matt Lamanna.
Hey guys.
Yeah, thanks Matt for taking some time out to talk with everybody.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So, Yeah, should be fun. Just kind of a chill, short little interview.
Yeah, sure.
And so anybody, if you've got any questions at all pertaining to dinosaurs, pertaining to museum work, pertaining to, I don't know, what else are you eager to talk about?
I would say, like, in particular, my knowledge base is mostly Southern Hemisphere dinosaurs and sort of, and kind of, you know, dinosaur museums, I guess. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, and again, just for context for anybody who maybe wasn't able to catch any of our earlier streams, Matt Lamanna has done a ton of field work all over the world, digging up different dinosaurs in all kinds of cool exotic places. Exotic sounds like almost condescending or something like that. But
I mean, I think some are pretty exotic, so yeah.
Yeah. And shoot, I've told you this already, but when I was a kid, there is this TV show that my dad taped for me called The Lost Dinosaurs of Egypt. I think I was about 10 years old, and I thought this was the coolest thing in the world. This group of paleontologists go out to Egypt to try and sort of rediscover some of these mysterious Egyptian dinosaurs, many of which, I think pretty much all of which at that point, had been destroyed in World War II.
100%.
And Matt Lamanna was on that crew, and so I watched that tape so many times I practically wore it out. And now, you know, get to have Matt out here in the field with us, and now you're on my show, which is
and you're
crazy.
And you've been a lifesaver to me and my people as well from Pittsburgh.
Shoot,
So,
I appreciate that. No,
This
it's been...
dude is one of the best field people I've ever worked with. No joke. Yep. And
Wow.
he's not paying me to say that. And this is only my second beer, so.
No, I'm beyond flattered.
Danny
Holy
is
cow.
fantastic, absolutely fantastic, and I'm so grateful when I hear stories like what you talked about that show being meaningful to you. I mean, it was certainly a really meaningful experience in my life, and you know, we were hoping it would have an impact on people, and you know, happily, I think it has. So
Definitely, yeah. I'm sure you inspired a lot of people to get into paleontology.
It
with
was, I will say, like it was about probably 15 years ago or so when the first people came up to me and said, like,
Really?
hey, I saw that show, and it really kind of, you know, got me more interested in Spinosaurus or becoming a paleontologist and stuff. And that was definitely a very pleasant surprise, I guess, when that all started happening. So yeah, I mean, it's you know, I was one of those kids that loved dinosaurs ever since I was a little tiny kid, and you know, I was inspired by shows that featured people like Phil Curry and Bob Bacher and Jack Horner and stuff, and you know, it's trippy to know that, you know, the show that we had, you know, the Egypt show that we had has inspired people the way that those shows inspired me. And to the point of, you know, doing fieldwork together. I got to do fieldwork with Phil Curry in 2014.
Nice.
And I kept it together the whole time, but I mean, I basically was doing fieldwork with my idol, you know, and it was cool.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. We just got a raid from PaleoStream, by the way. That's
nice.
Joshua Knupe.
Oh, sure.
Just finished his stream.
Oh, excellent. Yep.
And he says hello there. Joshua, I hope you had a wonderful stream. It's good to see you. And
phenomenal paleo artist.
Yeah.
As I said a couple days ago on the stream, my favorite illustration of our Egyptian dinosaur Paleontologizing ever.
that is really high praise. Holy cow.
Yeah. No, he does fantastic work. So
nice. They just finished up a flocking. Oh, I think this is like a communal draw thing, like a community draw where like they all draw.
Oh, nice. Like together, kind of.
Yeah.
I've seen those. Yeah.
Pretty awesome. Yeah, and Comrade Pupper's got a question for you already.
Sure.
Matt, have you ever dug up or found any fossils or bones of raptors?
Oh, let's see. Have I? Yes, but strangely, it was on the second dig, maybe even the first dig that I was ever on. Ironically, in Wyoming, back in the 1990s, when I was in my teens, I think, 19 or 20. I was in college, and I found half of a claw that's probably, I think it's a mantis claw, a hand claw of a small predatory dinosaur, probably a dromaeosaurid, aka a raptor. Three friends and I described, I don't think they count as raptors per se, but three friends and I described the Oviraptorosaur, Anzu wileyi, in 2014, and that would have sort of raptor-like claws and be bird-like and feathered and things like that. But unfortunately,
it's a maniraptor.
Yeah, exactly. And for better or worse, unfortunately, I didn't find that dinosaur myself, but I was the lucky guy that got to describe it. So, a plug for my colleagues in Argentina. We just today's Friday, right?
I think it is. Yeah.
So a week ago today. That's weird, but yeah, I think that's true. A week ago today, several of my Patagonian collaborators announced our discovery of an Unenlahin. They're a type of southern hemisphere raptor. And this animal is named in a Patagonian indigenous language. The word means bird of prey. It's something like, I can spell it, but I've never heard it spoken, so I can't tell you how to speak it, but I think it's something like Diuquin or Diuchin. It's Diuqin, and it means bird of prey in the Mapuzungun language of the indigenous people that lived in Patagonia, or that still live in Patagonia, that part of Patagonia. So that's a southern hemisphere raptor called an Unenlahin. So I would say I haven't, raptors are not the focus of my research, but I have worked on them and discovered them from time to time.
Nice. Is it well established that they are dromaeosaurs, or is that still controversial?
It's a really good question. So these animals, these southern hemisphere paravians, so bird-like predatory dinosaurs, that I would call Unenlahin dromaeosaurids. Many people agree that they are dromaeosaurids, so raptors, so to speak. But there's a small but very prominent and I would say influential community in South America that actually thinks there's some other kind of paravian theropod. So in other words, they're nobody doubts that they're closely related to birds. They absolutely are, without question. They're some of the most bird-like dinosaurs, bird-like non-avian dinosaurs that we know about. But opinions vary, basically, whether they're closely related to Velociraptor or not so closely related. And so many of us call them Unenlahin dromaeosaurids, but others would call them Unenlahids, so their own family of predatory dinosaurs. And the jury's still out as to what they are. Most of these animals, including our new one, are very, very poorly known. And so that's the fun part about working on southern hemisphere dinosaurs, which is the focus of my work, is that, we're constantly, even for the groups that we know are there, even for the species that we know existed, we often have very little fossil material to work with. And so, walking around every bend, kicking over any boulder, I mean, you can almost literally, kind of change the world in terms of our understanding of dinosaurs down there. Makes it so much fun to work there.
That's awesome. Yeah. And let's see. Try to find some other questions here too.
Yeah. I also apologize if I'm a little squinty. I have a ton of dust in my eyes today because it was really windy today.
We should get like an eye wash thing in camp. For people to flush their eyes out.
Well,
with.
I have the stupidest. My Achilles heel in the field is totally self-inflicted. I insist on wearing my contacts. I've never found
that's hardcore.
I've never found a pair of prescription sunglasses that I like. And I just always feel like I can judge distances better with my contacts, things like that. So, but it makes, my eyes get very messed up when I'm out here, and I have to take extra good care to keep my hands clean when I'm putting my contacts in and out. So that's my, if I look a little squinty, that's why.
No worries. It's field work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shoot. I've got wounds all over my hands.
Yeah,
from
actually, we
picking
both
and shoveling yesterday.
Danny and I are pick brothers in the ceratopsid quarry yesterday. Some of you guys have watched us working on.
Yeah.
I actually bashed my leg up pretty good on, I would say, a roughly 800-pound boulder yesterday. So, luckily, nothing is broken for sure. Just a big bruise. But yeah, it was a hard day yesterday. That was part of the reason why we didn't stream, is because we were doing so much. We were afraid we didn't want to have anything else going on. Just
focusing on the overburden,
focusing on these, trying to get these giant boulders out of the way so we can hopefully find more of this ceratopsid that we've been working on.
And to clarify for anybody, overburden is our term for just all of the stuff that's above the bone layer. So all of the rock and everything, and we have to clear all that away so we can get down to the layer where we know the bones are in order to be able to get them out. So that's overburden.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's a very physical part of field work.
Absolutely.
A lot of field work is walking around looking for stuff, looking for bone fragments on the ground, trying to find the layer they're coming out of. Once you do that, you kind of dig in, with rock hammers or awls or dental picks or oyster knives, which is a new one for me, but sometimes you run out of bone layer and you got to get rid of the stuff on top, and that's what we were doing yesterday. Very, very physical stuff. The kind of thing that if I did more of it, I probably would weigh 20 pounds less. And it's hard work, but it's really rewarding and actually feels really good to do physical stuff in the name of science, as opposed to my normal job where I sit at a desk and answer email and write papers. So.
Yeah, it's kind of a magical part of fieldwork to just get to, like, super physical like that and just...
Yeah, and see all these scientists just toughen it out. I mean, honestly, scientists were not regarded generally as the most, again, physically adept people in the world. But I mean, it's just impressive to watch people really, really going all out in the name of trying to get this dinosaur out of the ground. It's inspiring, frankly. It is.
I'm glad you think so.
Yeah, I mean. It hurts
sometimes
too.
we look a little clumsy,
Tired.
but it's
or are clumsy. My own injuries are all due to my own clumsiness. So
I think I maybe got you with a rock on your finger the other day. That might have been my fault.
That was a very slight nick. That was this one. Yeah, that's no biggie. Yeah, the leg is worse. It's far worse.
Yeah. Well, it feels better today, right?
It does feel better today.
Good.
Yeah, it didn't feel so great last night.
Let's see. Dr. Tara's got a great question, I think.
Okay.
How were Megaraptorans able to grow in size so immensely fast when abelisaurs were already biggish by the end times of the Carcharodontosaurs?
Oh, it's a good question. So this is a very southern hemisphere predatory dinosaur based question. So just for those that don't know this off the top of their head, the probably the apex predators in places like Patagonia and North Africa were these gigantic allosaurids called Carcharodontosaurids. Things like Giganotosaurus, Carcharodontosaurus, Mapusaurus, Meraxes, Tyrannotitan, all these really wonderful names that people have given these animals. But they seem to have gone extinct around the Turonian, maybe Cenomanian-Turonian boundary or Turonian-Coniacian boundary, something like that. And so they were presumably replaced by different predatory dinosaurs. What's interesting is I don't have a good answer for what happens right after Carcharodontosaurs go out in, roughly 90 million years ago. But what's interesting is in some parts of the southern hemisphere, we seem to get, Megaraptorids seem to be the apex predators there later in the Cretaceous, whereas in other parts of the southern hemisphere it seems to be abelisaurids that are filling that niche. And one thing that some friends and I have hypothesized is whether this might be climatic or environmental potentially. So what's interesting is Megaraptorids, these enigmatic, giant clawed, super pneumatized predatory dinosaurs that may actually potentially be distant relatives of T-Rex, which is really cool.
Huh.
They seem to be dominant in the far southern latitudes. So Australia, southern and central Patagonia.
Aerostion from Australia, I think.
Aerostion's Patagonia.
Patagonia.
But you're thinking Australovenator is Australian. Yep, and there's several others. They seem to be, when you find a big predatory dinosaur in the late Cretaceous of the far southern hemisphere, it's often a Megaraptorid. Interestingly, a little further north in the southern hemisphere, think like northern Patagonia, Brazil, northern Madagascar, India, many places in Africa, it seems to be abelisaurids are the apex predator. And so it's possible, one thing that's always been intriguing to me is long ago, a guy named Chris Scotese published paleoclimatic maps of the Mesozoic. I think on his website. I don't think he ever published it in for real, so to speak. But it's interesting. The places where Megaraptorids are dominant kind of equate to the warm temperate climatic band in Scotese's maps, and the places where abelisaurids are dominant kind of equate to the semi-arid band in his maps. So it's possible that there's some kind of these things are, hypothetically, let's go out on a massive limb, because why not? Let's say that, climates are different between northern Gondwana and southern Gondwana in the Cretaceous. That means plants are different. That means plant eaters are different, and that means that the things that are preying upon them may have been different as well. So what's interesting is, in southern Patagonia, we have very few abelisaurid remains, but we have Megaraptorids. In Australia, we have almost zero abelisaurid remains, maybe zero, but we have plenty of Megaraptorids. And then in places like Brazil, northern Patagonia, some places in northern Patagonia, Brazil, northwestern Madagascar, India, There's no definitive megaraptorids from Africa. Many other places in Gondwana, we've got abelisaurs filling that niche. So it seems to me, my best guess is that it's climatic.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. That being said, remember that the fossil record of southern hemisphere predatory dinosaurs is very, very poor, which means that one single discovery could overturn that hypothesis in an instant. All we would need is a megaraptorid from, say, Brazil or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that's what we got for now.
It's a lovely example of like a testable hypothesis in paleontology.
Yeah.
It's like, one data point could potentially like refute the whole idea.
Yep. Yeah, we threw this idea out there. I think Fernando Novas was probably the first to throw this out there in 2019, but our team kind of expanded on it in 2020, and we actually say in that part of the paper, this is a paper that I led with 3 Patagonian collaborators on megaraptorids from the Bajo Barrial Formation in Chubut province in Argentina. We actually said in the part where we talk about this paleobiogeographic hypothesis, this hypothesis of predatory dinosaur distribution in the southern hemisphere in the Cretaceous, we actually talked about, one single fossil could overturn this. We tried to be as cautious as we could, but I couldn't resist throwing the idea out there because I think there's a possibility that it's correct, or at least is partly correct.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
Let's see here. We've got some. We had a question about how many different dinosaur species do we think existed throughout the Mesozoic?
Oh man,
well, that's a tough one.
Well, you've been tallying this, haven't you? Like you said recently,
keeping
track of. Yeah. So I mean, well, you've been telling what's been discovered. Yeah.
Well, also I'm doing I'm creating this huge data set independent of the PBDB. For this sort of thing. So a big. I don't know. One of the big variables is like, are you a lumper or are you a splitter? And I admit I'm much more of a lumper, I think, with stuff like this. So, I don't know. I think there's a lot of reasons to believe that dinosaur diversity, species diversity, would not be nearly as high as that for mammals.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Well, because if dinosaurs are moving through multiple niches through ontogeny, you might have very high morphological diversity in dinosaurs, but species diversity is going to be lower than that.
That's an interesting. I mean, when animals get as large as dinosaurs do, obviously they're moving through a lot of obviously body sizes through their growth, but they also grew fast, so they probably weren't in those niches very long per se. But again, of course, there's the next year's generation, things like that. I mean, I guess my kind of hot take on this, without much evidence, is that we have scratched the surface of dinosaur diversity.
I think that's true as well.
We're still here in 2024. I mean, we're still discovering
new groups.
I was going to say not just new species, not just new genera,
totally
but
new families.
I mean, one of the examples I use of this is now, admittedly, this is almost 10 years ago, but I think just the same thing could happen next week, basically. In 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago, in 2015, and I think you and I have talked about this, I think probably off stream, Danny, is I can't remember which one came first, but there were 2 papers within back-to-back issues of the journal Nature. One of them was, the one paper was Fernando Novas et al. And this weird little Chilean dinosaur with the rather unimaginative name of Chilesaurus, which it looks, at first glance, it looks kind of like meh, what I mean? Like, random, like,
it just
small
looks like a generic
dinosaur.
little beaky
guy, but then you look at the details, and the thing looks
it's
like
the
thing looks like it looks like it came from Jupiter or something. I mean, like,
utterly bizarre.
It's when you look at the details of this thing, Chilesaurus, it looks like it fell out of the sky. I mean, this is a dinosaur group that none of us saw coming. And it's late Jurassic in age, which means that its lineage would have been around for probably quite a while, but before we pick it up. Then, and I don't remember which one came first, so I apologize, but a week later or a week before comes this weirdo gliding theropod from northeastern China, this Yichi, this weird gliding Scansoriopterygiid. And these are animals that nobody saw coming. I mean, I've been thinking about dinosaurs every day of my life since I was 4 years old, and I had no idea these animals were out there. And so that just goes to show you that, again, certainly our knowledge of dinosaurs is better than it's ever been. Our conception of dinosaur diversity is better than it's ever been, simply because all of us that are doing work now are standing on the shoulders of the people that came before us. And so, science is accumulating evidence about dinosaurs. But that being said, I think that, if there's any aspiring paleontologists on the stream right now, I think long after Danny and I are retired, there's going to be incredible discoveries left to be made. We have entire... think about I often think about the Australian fossil record, for instance. The youngest Australian dinosaurs that are represented by more than a fragment of bone are about 95 million years old, which means that the last 30 million years of dinosaur history, of non-avian dinosaur history in Australia, is effectively completely unknown. And if somebody finds the right rocks, they're going to find things that'll blow us away. So, I would say just extraordinary discoveries to come, and I would say, I have to punt on the, putting a number on the number of dinosaurs, but we have, I would say probably everybody would agree, we have well over 1,000 genera of dinosaurs now, and I would say the number that existed over the course of the Mesozoic, oldest dinosaur is about 235, 240 million years old. Youngest, excluding birds, are 66. That's a lot of time for, things to evolve. We know that they lived on every continent. That's a lot of real estate for these animals to inhabit. So, I would say thousands of species of dinosaurs were out there. Maybe tens of thousands.
Definitely,
Hard to say, but...
And I've run the numbers, and on average, it's about once every 9 days that a new dinosaur genus or species is published.
That's crazy.
Which is nuts. Yeah.
Yeah. And also goes to show you, for the people that are out there that, that want to come do this, there's going to be so much left to discover for years and years and years.
Definitely.
Again, the rate of discovery isn't slowing down either. It's, it's still really rapid.
Oh, we just got a giant raid from Stats Bloke. Hello,
right.
Stats Bloke and raiders. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Welcome to Wyoming. We mostly got rained out today from the field, and I didn't get to stream yesterday because we were doing overburden, removing all of this rock from over the bone layer in the quarry.
Basically trying to move 800-pound boulders with 4 people.
Yeah.
It was super fun.
It was probably I don't know if I'm not good at this kind of thing, but we probably moved 10 tons of rock over the past couple days.
It was ballpark that. Yeah.
Anyway, welcome. This is Paleontologizing. I'm Danny Anduza, and I'm joined by dinosaur curator of Pittsburgh's Carnegie Museum, Matt Lamanna. So we've got a big shot here on stream again, and we're really lucky to have him. So let me know if you've got any questions.
Not a big shot. Very happy to be here.
You definitely are. Not to, I don't know. Not to make too big a deal out of it. But welcome, Raiders. It is good to have you here. Statsblog, how was your stream? I hope it was really good. And, we've got a question from Thing. They say, I'm going to try to go to the SVP meeting this year.
Nice.
Can you tell me a little bit about what to expect?
Oh, what a fantastic question. Okay, so, well, first of all, I probably won't be there, sadly, this year. I hope I will, but I have to. Some friends and I convened a session at the Geological Society of America meeting in Anaheim.
Oh, nice.
And and I kind of have to go to that, and I'm the museum sort of allows me to go to a couple of conferences a year, and I already went to one in London, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to swing a third one, but. What to expect at SVP?
Oh, and we should say what SVP is, first of all.
It's
the
that's a good point. Yes.
Society of Vertebrate Paleontology annual meeting.
Right.
So it's the one global meeting for paleontologists who study animals with backbones.
Animals with backbones.
Yeah, so dinosaurs fall under that umbrella, obviously.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this is, I would say SVPs, if you can... I remember when I first went to my first SVPs, I was probably, my first one was 1997 in Chicago. And I would have been 21 or 22 years old. I was it was awesome, but I was also really nervous because walking down the halls, oh my God, there's Paul Sereno, and oh my God, there's Phil Curry, and oh my God, there's Bob Bacher, and oh my God, and I'm this wide-eyed, dinosaur obsessed student, I would say if you can get over the starstruck feeling, if you and some people don't have that. Some people didn't grow up watching dinosaur documentaries on TV like Danny and I did. But I would say if you can get over that, it's an amazing experience. It's I mean, you just got 4 straight days of people dumping you full of dinosaur and other fossil vertebrate knowledge. And then, and then there's, so that happens during the day. I think from about 8 to 4, something like that, are the talks. And usually from 4 to 6, there's a poster session afterwards on each day of the meeting. There's also usually evening events. If you're a student, I would recommend going to the student and postdoc roundtable, which usually happens on Thursday. When I'm at SVP, I often host the museum careers table,
Nice.
Which has always been super fun. It's actually how I met. I think Danny and I first met there, although stupidly I didn't remember because I'm an
That would have been
idiot.
2013. I barely remember that,
Yeah,
honestly.
well, it
It's
was
such a blur.
2013.
Yeah,
but that's definitely where I first met Ethan Calgill face to face, and he's the one that's leading this dig that we're on here right now. That's a really, really good event for students to go to. I would say, and kind of in that vein, I would say that, like, if you have any social inclination at all, the most impactful things for me that have ever happened at SVP have happened well after the talks are over. Like going to dinner with somebody that I'm interested in collaborating with, or like having a drink with, like, somebody whose work I'd read about but I had never had the chance to really meet, or whatever. You'll find that, like, I always find that, like, if a student comes up to me and says, like, hey, I read your paper on megaraptors and I thought it was interesting, or even like, I thought you were wrong about this, like, I'm more than happy to engage and like sit down and chat. And I think a lot of people in the field are as well.
Definitely, yeah.
There are, for better or worse, there are a few people that are not as socially forthcoming, but for the most part, it's a really great, welcoming, wonderful community that's that's centered on fossil animals with backbones, including dinosaurs. So for it's something like Dinopalooza or something like that.
It really is,
It's and you don't have to be a professional paleontologist to go as well. Lots of people that go to SVP are not professional paleontologists. They're just people with an interest in the science, or they're paleo artists, or they're science communicators, or whatever it might be. So if you have any interest at all, you should definitely check it out. It's usually they're over 1,000 people, so they're quite big meetings. I think the biggest one has been in circa 1,500, maybe.
Wow.
Something like that. Yeah.
Would that have been like LA, maybe? I remember there was.
I want to say that
crazy
like
number there.
I can't remember which one was the absolute biggest, but
Yeah.
but I've heard, like, I'm kind of extrapolating because in 2010 I think we had 1,100 people in Pittsburgh.
Oh,
and
nice.
so, like, usually the membership kind of grows over the years, so I'm thinking maybe it's a little bigger by now.
Yeah.
But yes, I hope you come, and I hope you have a good time. And if I happen to be there and you see my name tag, Matt Lamanna, feel free to introduce yourself, and I'll be happy to introduce you to people I know.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it this year. It's first year in a while I've actually been able to go.
Nice.
And I've got 2 abstracts in the running. One in the normal session and one in the, like, outreach and methods.
Education outreach.
Yeah, so
I actually
looking
did
forward to
not
it.
submit one this year, but I think I'm on 3 of them.
Nice.
As a co-author.
Co-author, yeah. Cool. And let's see. We've got a question for you, Matt. Where'd you go to university for master's
Sure.
or PhD?
Yeah.
And how do we keep up a family life or that sort of thing with a partner always being on digs?
Great question. Yeah, so I got my master's and PhD from the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia, so Penn. And my degrees are officially in geology, actually technically earth and environmental science, but my scientific advisor, my major professor, if you will, was Peter Dodson, a horned dinosaur expert, who had a dual appointment with the Department of Earth and Environmental Science and also the veterinary school. He taught anatomy in the veterinary school. So, like Penn, I think for better or worse, Penn does not have as much of a dinosaur paleo program as it used to now that Peter's retired, but there's still lots of wonderful places out there that you can get a degree in work with somebody that specializes in dinosaurs if you want to. To the second point, well, I'm really lucky in that my wife Mandy is we met in grad school. She's probably right over behind me someplace. We met in grad school. She was training to be a paleobotanist, so go ahead and make like the dinosaur paleontologist, paleobotanist, Jurassic Park relationship jokes.
Alan Grant, Ellie Sattler.
Exactly. Yeah. But she actually went into science education rather than paleobotany. The cool thing is, and I think it would have been honestly really hard to get jobs in the same place if she had stuck with paleobotany. She went into science education instead, and she's the head of the learning collection, so the educational loan collection. Like when teachers ask for like a muskrat, taxidermy muskrat or something, Mandy's the one that helps them get that. And so she works at the same museum as I do, the Carnegie Museum in Pittsburgh. We don't have children. That's one decision that we made given our busy lifestyles. But we happily are able to go on digs a fair bit together. And in fact, as I kind of implied, she's probably 50 yards away from me right now. And last I saw her, she was doing dishes. So we are able to do field work quite a bit together, and it's a really, really fantastic thing.
Awesome. Has she been pretty much everywhere?
She's been to Patagonia. She's been to Egypt. In fact, we were friends when we went to Egypt in 2001, and we came back boyfriend and girlfriend. So we're the classic, great American romance. First date was at the Titanic Cafe in Bahariya Oasis in Egypt. Just like they write it in the rom-com scripts, But we're very, very fortunate. We've been able to do a lot of field work together, spend a lot of time together outside of the museum.
And that is really fortunate, really lucky.
I think it's unusual.
There are a lot of paleontologists, like couples who, maybe they have to live on opposite sides of the country because like jobs are really scarce, and to find jobs in the same city together can be really, really difficult.
Yeah. That was always our fear, is that obviously we think really highly of each other, but we were very concerned for a long time that we would, I'd end up in Saskatchewan and she'd end up in, Florida or something, we really count our blessings that we both ended up in Pittsburgh, at the Carnegie Museum in particular.
Let's see here, trying to find some other questions. And will the abstracts be open access for SVP?
I think they are.
I'm pretty sure you can find them on the vertpaleo.org website.
Yep.
Yeah, the abstract volume. Let's see here. Oh, and Ken is in the chat. Hello, Ken. Hope you're doing well.
Ken from a couple days ago?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Hey,
Ken, are you coming out tomorrow, maybe? I hope so. I hope you're doing well. And we've got a lovely comment from Coughlin Zwerf. It says, "Good evening, everyone. Side note, it's great to hear Matt say, 'my friends and I,' and not this modern, selfish-sounding stuff."
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
You are very good at that, about, building up your colleagues.
Well, thank you. I think that it's, you don't do this stuff as one person. You do it as a team, and everybody has something to contribute. I mean, I just said at the beginning of the stream, Danny is a better field guy than I am. He is, without question. I have talent in the field, but being an all-around, just somebody who's really great to have in the field, I would pick Danny over me, to be honest. But we all have things to contribute. I mean, I can contribute to the, on the scientific side, and Danny obviously can as well, but there are some people that are contributing more on the kind of the logistics side. We have two people that just went out prospecting, looking for fossils today. Logan and Tren came back with some really cool stuff. They're better at finding fossils than I am. So you do this. It takes a village to do this kind of stuff. And I think it's. Let me put it this way: we've long moved past the point where, one white dude walks into the wilderness and brings a dinosaur out on his backpack. I mean, I think that's just not how it happens these days, and I think it's important to acknowledge that. And I think, in the places that I work, I work a lot in the southern hemisphere, so places like Patagonia and Egypt and Australia and Antarctica, especially when it comes to the Egyptian project, and also the Patagonian projects as well. I think it's really important for those of us here in the States to do our best to kind of elevate and acknowledge our our collaborators and colleagues in countries that don't have as many resources as we do. I mean, Argentina obviously is not far off the U.S. in some ways, but but they don't have the same kind of resources we have for paleo there. And then Egypt is really, honestly, Egypt's vertebrate paleontology program is really just in its kind of nascent stages.
Yeah.
And so whenever I get a chance, I try to acknowledge my colleagues at the Mansouri University Vertebrate Paleontology Center, who, frankly, I kind of, if I have any kind of notoriety at all, it's from this work in Egypt. But I haven't physically been to Egypt since 2006.
Oh wow!
All of a sudden it became not such a great idea for Westerners to head there, and luckily the torch has been picked up by my colleagues in Egypt, and they're absolutely killing it out in Bahariya Oasis, Cargo Oasis, Dakla Oasis, finding all these new dinosaurs, and luckily for me, inviting me to kind of join the party. But really, literally breaking new ground. Many of my collaborators at the MUVP, the Mansouri University Vertebrate Paleontology Center, are female, and so they're doing things that are frankly not expected of women
People
in the Middle East,
part of the world. Yeah,
exactly. And I just think it's one of the greatest honors of my life to be able to work with that team, and actually also some of the teams that I work with in Patagonia as well. So I would say, like, the greatest thing about being a paleontologist with international interests is that I get to go to places that I never thought I'd get to go to. But the most, even cooler than that, is that some of my very best friends in the world live in Argentina, live in Egypt, live in Australia. And, you're talking like brothers and sisters, you know what I mean? I couldn't ask for anything more, and I think it would be extremely disingenuous of me to not acknowledge all the people that have gone into that work. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's see. We had a question too. Let me see if I can find it. But it was something like, we get all these. Oh, so intelligent questions in science. Ellipsis. No one's asking, what one comfort item would you love to have at camp?
I would say so. I know that if you pay enough money or you have enough technical ingenuity, there is a way to have like a shower, an outdoor shower in the camp. And that would be my number one. I am one of these people. I think thankfully we're probably fairly rare, but I don't feel really awake until I have a shower. For some people it's coffee. Some people it's breakfast or whatever. For me, it's a shower. That's when I really know I'm awake. So I don't like being filthy and I don't like being sleepy. And a shower takes care of both of those for me. So. If I could snap my fingers and make some kind of amenity appear here right now, it would be, some type of outdoor shower, or indoor. I'll take whatever. Yeah. Just preferably with a curtain, because because I'm 48 now. But
that's a good answer.
But an excellent question. Yeah.
Shoot, mine would probably be pretty. Oh no, hang on. I'm not going to say that. Not going to say a bidet. I'm going to say refrigerator
that's a
with
good
a freezer.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Which we actually have in Utah.
Oh,
it's
no
propane
way.
powered, and it's luxurious, Chad. It's so nice having that.
I need to experience some of these Utah field seasons that have technologically tricked out that way, because I'm used to doing field work in Patagonia and Egypt, where it's not like we have no resources. We don't, but like we're very similar to here. It's like we bring all our water in, bring in coolers, like all the, everything we need, we have to bring. And typically showers are considered luxury enough that we don't bother to try to set them up. So.
Yeah. It is really nice. We just have the fridge and freezer in a trailer out there, so we bring it with us.
Nice.
It's the same deal as here, but like just a bit more relaxed, and we get cold drinks at night, which is awesome.
Yeah.
We've got that too here, but we don't have to go to town to get ice and everything.
Yeah, we have to stay on top of it. We have to continually get ice, and every time somebody goes to town, I'm like, bring more ice.
And let's see. Oh, we got a great question from Tone Rebellion. Thank you, Claire, for reposting that. Matt, do we know why hadrosaurs and ceratopsians never replaced titanosaurid sauropods in the southern hemisphere? like they did in the north?
Fantastic question. Well, I think in the case of ceratopsids, I think the answer is reasonably simple, in that I don't think they ever got there. So far, we have no definitive evidence of ceratopsids anywhere in the southern hemisphere.
Yeah.
I could go on a tangent about Notoceratops bonarellii. This is a lower jaw that was found in the early 20th century from actually my collaborators in my field area near Lago Coahuapi in Chubut province in Argentina.
Or Serendipitoceratops from Australia.
Well, yeah. I mean, but even if Serendipitoceratops is legit, and it
would be a Leptoceratopsid.
Probably isn't. It's some kind of non-ceratopsid ceratopsian. So Notoceratops was a jaw that was found in Patagonia near localities where I work, but it's since been lost. It was found more than 100 years ago. It's been lost. Nobody can double check it, and I think most of us think that it was probably a hadrosaur jaw. That brings me to the second point. So hadrosaurs are a little bit more complicated. They never did truly replace titanosaurs, but they certainly lived in places like Patagonia, North Africa. So far, those are the only two definitive places in the southern hemisphere. But hadrosaurids clearly got around very effectively. They seem to have been dinosaurs that were really effective at dispersing, and they did, I would say, partly probably come to occupy some niches that were formerly occupied by sauropods, and in particular in Patagonia, potentially North Africa as well. So for instance, there are now, from about 75 million years onward, there are multiple species of Patagonian hadrosaurid. And so, so they definitely were, I think, of course, there's only so much eco space to go around.
Sure.
They definitely were filling some niches that formerly were filled by titanosaurs in Patagonia, and probably also North Africa as well. What's interesting is, especially in Patagonia, we don't really know the story in North Africa as well yet, but in Patagonia, we have a pretty good fossil record of dinosaurs from about from the early Cretaceous, so the early part of the Cretaceous period, all the way through to the end, more or less. I mean, there are some holes here and there, but it's a pretty good record, especially as Southern Hemisphere records go. There's not a scrap of evidence of hadrosaurids before about probably something like 72-ish million years ago. So around what we call the Campanian-Maastrichtian boundary, and that to me suggests that they got there. If they were there all along, we should have them. We should have them. So that to me suggests they came from someplace else. And in my mind, the most likely place is North America itself.
Yeah. Just like the titanosaurs came up north.
Exactly.
Like Alamosaurus gets to North America.
Alamosaurus is, in my mind, there is no doubt that Alamosaurus is descended from South American ancestors. That's a controversial hot take in sauropod circles.
Really?
But there's another school of thought that suggests that things like Episcoselicaudia and Alamosaurus are related to each other. But I don't.
Interesting.
I mean, frankly, I don't buy it. I think to me, Alamosaurus is a South American titanosaur.
I mean, we don't have any remains of it or any other titanosaur from the late Cretaceous of North America any further north than like New Mexico, right?
Right. True. Yeah.
So,
there are reports. Well, so there is definitive Alamosaurus material from Utah, for instance.
Oh, right.
From the North Horn Formation.
True.
There's actually also a report of a sauropod tail vertebra from the Evanston Formation here in Wyoming.
Really?
Yeah, but I'm not a big believer because caudal vertebrae can be
not super diagnostic.
Yeah, exactly. So it could be a big hadrosaur or something like that. But long story short, I think ceratopsids never did that, never replaced titanosaurs because they didn't get to the southern hemisphere. Mm-hmm. But I think that hadrosaurs probably did replace ceratopsids titanosaurs to some degree.
Interesting. So you don't think it would be like a floral difference between the northern and southern hemispheres? Like
I mean,
conifer dominated versus angiosperm dominated, or something like that.
Very probably played a role, but what we know objectively is that hadrosaurs made it to southern South America. And made it probably all the way to Antarctica. There's a tooth and a couple of bones from Antarctica that are likely those of hadrosaurids
from the late Cretaceous.
Yeah, there's the tooth. I would say is basically a no doubter. It's it's either a hadrosaurid or some derived non-hadrosaur hadrosauroid.
Sure. Say that 5 times fast.
I
Yeah.
know, exactly. Yeah, but yeah, so hadrosaurs did, I would say, displace titanosaurs to some degree, but they never displaced them entirely. Just the way that, things like Allosaurus found a way to coexist with North American hadrosaurs.
Right, yeah.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yep.
That would also imply if they're in competition that they're feeding generally at the same kind of level. Vertically at least.
Right. And, whereas, a giant titanosaur would feed at a much, much higher level than a ceratopsid or a hadrosaur.
Do you have a take on, what is the browsing height? Comfortable browsing height for a titanosaur? Are you a neck-up guy or, more closer to ground level?
I'm kind of agnostic, I would say. I think they could probably do both, I think that there's, I think if your neck can reach the ground, and it has to reach the ground because you got to drink water
and stuff,
exactly,
yeah.
right? Yeah, we've all seen giraffes with their legs splayed, I just don't. And I think their necks were probably. I think Mike Taylor and others have provided some, quite a bit of evidence that, they probably weren't as restricted in neck movements as, say, Kent Stevens and Mike Parrish would have you believe.
Huh.
I think they probably had a really large what we call a feeding envelope, like the area over which they could feed, and that, if that was the case, they would be able to feed at higher levels, higher vertical levels, physical levels than a hadrosaurid would at the same time.
Makes a lot of sense, yeah.
Yeah.
So we had another question, too, about dromaeosaur running speed.
Oh, man.
We have a ballpark estimate for how fast a dinosaur like a Utah raptor
I think
can run.
I'm going to punt on that one. I actually don't know enough about dromaeosaurids or biomechanics to really weigh in there.
What I can say about Utah raptor is it is generally a much more stocky animal than something like Velociraptor.
Yeah.
Probably not a super fast runner, but probably more of an ambush predator, I would guess.
Yeah, I think the general consensus is that raptors, dromaeosaur, aka raptors, were not among the fastest predatory dinosaurs.
Yeah.
I think for that title, you would look to things like, fastest theropod dinosaurs.
Yeah.
For that title, you'd look to things like ornithomimids, the ostrich dinosaurs, or I would say scenic gnathed oviraptorosaurs like Anzu, this dinosaur that my friends and I described in 2014. I would say that animal was probably pretty quick as well. It's got really long, slender limbs.
Long tipped fib compared to its femur.
Yeah.
Also, juvenile tyrannosaurs. Probably really fast runners. They're very, very leggy.
Yep.
And
there's a general relationship between the length of the femur, so the thigh bone, and the length of the tibia fibula, which is the shin, basically. And generally speaking, the longer the shin is compared to the thigh, the faster the runner.
Yeah.
And I don't think dromaeosaurids are particularly exceptional that way, and also they're supporting their weight on only 2 toes, which is unusual for a theropod, because remember they're presumably keeping this second digit with its quote unquote killing claw off the ground to keep it sharp, things like this. So I think the general consensus is that dromaeosaurids, aka raptors, were not among the fastest theropod dinosaurs.
We've got another question for you specifically, Matt. As a curator, what are some experiences that you've had with museum set displays when it comes to prehistoric animals? They say, as an artist who wants to eventually find a career in making dinosaur displays for museums, this is important to me.
Sure. I have had, I would say, quite extensive experience. I've had the privilege to have been involved with a bunch of different exhibits. The first one that I ever was involved with was I was hired basically as the scientific advisor for the Carnegie Museum's Dinosaur Hall renovation, which happened in the mid-2000s. So I was hired in 2004, and we really kind of got going with that in earnest in 2005. We opened the galleries in 2007 and 2008 in kind of 2 phases. And I guess the short way to put it is I was responsible. I had the final word on all scientific content, would be a way to put it. Like a lot of the ideas for what to talk about in the exhibits were my responsibility, that kind of stuff. And so I wrote a lot of exhibit copy. I wrote a lot of I contributed to design. I sat in meetings where we picked out like the color of the carpet and like what the railing should look like, things like this. And meanwhile I'm like sitting there like thinking like if you do like a thought balloon in these meetings, I'm like publish that paper. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
just kinda
exactly, yeah.
waiting, like feeling a little bit, impatient, I guess, with that sort of thing. But over the years, I've been involved with a lot of different exhibitions. I would say almost always as a scientific advisor. So somebody who's responsible for, again, the content on the label panels, but also, and to the point of the person asking the question, I also have advised artists on reconstructing dinosaurs, both in 2D and in 3D. So I have a lot of experience that way, and I'm happy to. I guess I'll plug my Instagram now.
Yeah.
I'm happy to have people reach out to me on Instagram or follow me on Instagram. It's just at Matt Lamanna. So MattLamanna. And you can, I guess. DM me, as the kids say.
Yeah.
I'm Gen X, so I
Slide into those DMs.
Yeah, slide into my DMs. But yeah, I'm happy to answer questions that way. I just ask that you, if anyone does reach out to me that way and ask questions, just please be patient, because I get a lot of email,
like hundreds every day.
I get a lot of Instagram messages too and things like that. But I love connecting with people, and I'm happy to answer questions in more detail in that format too.
Nice, thank you. Yeah, and excellent. We got links for your Instagram in the chat right there,
Oh,
so
nice.
people just click it.
Thank you, whoever did that.
Yeah, Claire Burr and Lenina, thank you very much. Loyal moderators. Yeah. And let's see. Commander Argo says they always make hadrosaurs look like slow, plodding, cow-like creatures in movies, but I would like to think they're probably pretty fleet of foot, like most prey-type animals, keep away from predators. To a certain extent,
it's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I would guess probably young hadrosaurs probably were pretty quick.
Yeah.
I think, remember that an adult hadrosaurid is like...
It's huge.
Yeah, I mean, now admittedly, so are the things that are preying on them.
Yeah.
But like a big Edmontosaurus. What'd you say? You guys have you dug up one there or knew of one that was
it's like probably pushing 50
feet long. I mean,
yeah.
There's not all hadrosaurids are that big, but I mean, I think when you get that big, and some of them did get quite big. I think you're depending more on like just
bulk
sheer
and power,
bulk and exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, multiple hadrosaurids, were probably over 40 feet long. I mean, a couple might have been over 50.
Yeah, some of the ones we have here might be approaching
There
that size too.
there
Enormous.
are big animals in this fauna for sure. I mean, a lot of the things
Yeah.
I've seen are quite large. But yeah, I mean, I think it's reasonable to to kind of imagine hadrosaurs as a little bit more athletic maybe than we give them credit for, especially at small sizes. But but I think once they get to be, I mean, giant, an adult Shandungosaurus would be something like 10 tons. I mean, I think they're probably not moving quickly. And
That's what, like 4 elephants?
I would say a good-sized elephant is, in my mind, what I always learned was 5 tons is a big adult elephant.
Oh, okay.
But I would say many zoo elephants probably are more like 2.5 tons, something like that. Yeah, I mean, I've never grabbed him by the trunk and put him on a scale, But I was, but regardless, I mean, you're talking about very, very large animals, and I think by the time they get that big, they are depending much more on their bulk than their speed for defense.
Uh-huh.
But it's a good point, and I think, I think that probably. We think about things like Tyrannosaurus Rex. The locomotion of T-Rex has been studied ad infinitum. I mean, everybody and their mom has an idea on how fast this thing was.
Yeah.
And so and nobody seems to agree. And so I think at this point too, like a lot of different dinosaur groups, there's room for interpretation. I think as to what they might have been capable of.
Definitely. Yeah.
It's starting to get cold.
It is. Yeah. We can wrap this up pretty soon if you want to.
I think I might have to.
Yeah,
Just
no, not a
because I'm
problem.
getting
We've
cold.
got dinner should be done pretty soon too.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So this will be a short
Do
stream
you know what's
today,
on the
everybody.
menu?
I don't actually.
Okay.
I would yell down there, but it looks like Ethan's on the phone.
Okay. Oh, is Ethan back?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just happy to be able to do a stream today. I didn't think this was going to be possible, so thank you.
It rained all day. Well, I mean, not in the morning. We shoveled a lot in the morning, but
Yeah.
but yeah, we basically got blown and thundered off the outcrop today.
Yep.
And spent a lot of the day just kind of trying to stay dry. So no, I'm glad we were able to do this too. And it's I'm just totally blown away with how many. How loyal, I was told a couple days ago that, I was commenting on, how Danny refers to the chat in the collective and things like that. And
it's a typical Twitch thing.
Yeah. But I'm new to Twitch, so, hashtag Gen X, I guess. But yes, somebody said we prefer to be called Chatthew. So
that was a Twitch staff member who said that too. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay, so I'm kind of in awe of how loyal all you guys are, and I'm super stoked that you're choosing to tune into a scientific stream on this.
Absolutely, yeah. The internet's a big place, and there's so many different things you could be watching right now.
Right, it's
Kardashians and various other things. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it just it just makes me so like when in the beginning when we talked about the the Lost Dinosaurs of Egypt show and that having a positive effect on Danny. I mean, it makes me so happy that people are tuning into this and learning about paleontology and and hopefully having a good time as well.
Yeah. Hang on, I had another question here I want to make sure that we get covered for
Sure.
Stats Bloke, who rated in. Matt, in your museum's collection, what's your favorite exhibit or piece on display?
Oh, on display? Oh man. Well, I mean,
That's tough because you've got two main contenders there that would both be correct answers.
We do, yeah, and I'm trying to think of like a deep cut that wouldn't be one of those two. But just for those that don't know, I work at the Carnegie Museum in Pittsburgh. And we have the holotype, so the name-bearing specimens, so the fossils that are the gold standard for their species of Diplodocus carnegii, which many people, especially in Europe, would say is the most famous individual dinosaur skeleton in the world. I think the Field Museum would want to have a word with me probably about Sue, but but
Dippy's got.
But Dippy has
longevity
almost
there.
100 years on Sue. Yeah, exactly. And so we have the holotype of Diplodocus carnegii. We have the original Dippy. And on top of that, we have the holotype, the type specimen, the name bearer, the gold standard of Tyrannosaurus Rex at my museum. And both of those are mounted. And so those are the first two that kind of came to mind. But yeah, if you want to see the first thing that was ever called Tyrannosaurus Rex in the history of the planet, you got to come to Pittsburgh to see it. And it's, obviously I'm biased, but I think it's really, really remarkable. Our dinosaur gallery is, up there with any of the rest, especially in the sense that we've got these two dinosaur specimens. I'm trying to think of like something a little bit more obscure though. I will say, let's see. I'm a big fan of our case full of Solnhofen fossils. So we have, in 1903, our museum bought a private fossil collection that was owned by a Belgian baron. His name was Ernest de Baillet. And in 1903, Andrew Carnegie bought his entire collection. It was tens of thousands of fossils. Fossil vertebrates, fossil invertebrates, fossil plants for a grand total of $20,500.
It was a lot of money back then.
It was a lot of money back then.
Yeah.
It's worth about $400,000, I think, today. It might be worth more than that.
Oh, like you mean inflation-wise?
Inflation, inflation-wise. But
the
it's
fossils themselves are priceless, obviously.
Exactly, but it was obviously a lot of money at the time, but I think it was in retrospect a really good deal. As a result, we have one of the best, if not the best, collections of European fossils on this side of the Atlantic. On top of Diplodocus carnegie, on top of T-Rex, things like this. And so I love, one of my favorite things to do in our dinosaur exhibition is our Solnhofen case is basically, it's probably about 10 feet from the Diplodocus carnegii mount, because both of those Solnhofen, these lagoonal deposits in southern Germany, famously having produced Archaeopteryx and lots of pterosaurs and things like this. These are 150 million years old. They're Upper Jurassic. So is Diplodocus carnegii. And so we've juxtaposed them in this really cool way where you can look at the Solnhofen case and see, shrimp that look like shrimp, and lobsters that look like lobsters, and horseshoe crabs that look like horseshoe crabs, and dragonflies that look like dragonflies. And then you turn around, you do a 180, and Diplodocus carnegii is standing there. To me, that's a really, really powerful example of how the roots of the modern world took hold during the age of dinosaurs, during the Mesozoic. And so I would say if I had to point to like a favorite fossil on display, in addition to the Diplodocus carnegii, aka Dippy, and the T-Rex holotype, I would say the shrimp in the Solnhofen exhibit is one of my very favorites because of this amazing juxtaposition. And incidentally, I should I'm going to do a little plug, like a little shout out. For anybody that's in the Pittsburgh region or feels like driving to Pittsburgh, on July 12th, we're doing a little miniature symposium on Diplodocus carnegii to celebrate the 125th anniversary of the discovery of this iconic dinosaur. So I'm going to speak, and 5 other people are speaking too, all of whom I'm sure will deliver better speeches than me. But it should be a lot of fun, and there's a lot of events that whole month of July that are centered on the 125th anniversary discovery of Diplodocus carnegii, found all the way back in 1899 in a different part of Wyoming that we're in right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I should probably let you go at this point. You're probably getting pretty cold.
I am kind of cold.
Okay.
Yeah. My clothes got really damp when it was raining. I was walking outside, and I was actually trying to make sure the cook tent didn't blow away. So I got a little bit wet earlier, and I'm kind of excited to sit around the fire now. So did they make the fire yet?
There's people sitting around. So, yeah, I see smoke. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I'm excited to go down to the fire, but I appreciate everybody tuning in. And like I said, it's just a privilege to be able to do this kind of thing. So massive, massive thanks to you too, Dan.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah,
Holy cow.
pleasure.
Really
Yeah.
appreciate it. Go get warm down there. Tell me what's for dinner, too.
I will.
Awesome.
I'll bring my chair with me.
Yeah. And, with that,
Bye, chat.
I'll wrap things up here. Let's see. I know it's just a short stream today, but glad we were able to do one at all because, with all the rain that we got earlier, we weren't able to get a ton of work done. And I also got a flat tire on the Prius today. I had to drive it into town and stop and refill the tire with the air compressor like 4 times because it had a pretty fast leak on it. So I was able to get that done. And anyway, it's been one of those days, chat. But I'm really glad we could still do a stream anyway, even if it was a short one. But everybody, thank you so much for watching. Let's see who else is on Twitch at the moment, whom we might raid into here. Let's see. Scrolling. Looks like Science Streams is on. Let's go say hello to Science Streams. They're doing New Species of the Week. I think is it Balint and Leader or just Balint today? But let's go ahead and raid into them. Let's see. Raid Science _ Streams. There we go. Beautiful. Well, you're really going to enjoy this raid, everybody. If you don't know Science Streams yet, well, you're going to be glad you do after this. So Balint and Lita are 2 research scientists. They're molecular and systems biologists. Every Friday, they do like a new species of the week. They answer your science questions. It's always a good time. So, 2 of my best friends on Twitch. Excited to raid into them. Everybody, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for your wonderful questions and for your encouraging messages and your attention, your viewership. Hopefully, no guarantees, but hopefully I can stream tomorrow. We will be doing more overburden at the Ceratopsian site as long as the weather holds. I'll see if maybe I can sneak a stream in tomorrow afternoon, but it's not going to be easy. So hopefully I can see you then. But everybody, you take care of yourselves, and let's see what Science Streams is up to. All right. I'll see you there.